Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Dai, and today I am bringing you my first impressions of Solo Leveling by Chugong. I will be talking about the light novel, which I have here, which is rated 16 and up, which is older teen. I will also be talking about the Manhwa, which is also rated older teen, published by Yan Press. And then I will be talking about the audiobook, which was also released by Yan On and narrated by Ki Hong Lee. So I first read the light novel, and this story basically follows E-rank hunter Jin Woo-sung, and this basically means he is the lowest of the low in regards to monster hunters. In this world, the people who are monster hunters have what's called an awakening, and that's how they get their powers, and then based on how much power they have, that gives them their rank. And Jin Woo-sung is basically just a level up above a normal human. And so he, at the beginning of the story, shows up for a raid, and basically what they do is they gather in these groups and they go into these dungeons and clear it from like battling the monsters inside, and you have to kill the boss. And if you don't do that, then the monsters will come out into society, and nobody wants that to happen. So he basically shows up for this raid. There are a bunch of people there that he already knows, and once people see him, they're super relieved, because if he's showing up to a raid, that means it's going to be a simple job, and they're pretty much guaranteed to come out of this unscathed. Now, based on the level of the dungeon that they're entering, that's also something. So the higher level your dungeon is, the more dangerous your opponents will be inside. So that's also giving them a sense of calmness, because they feel like, you know, if he's here, then the beasts inside can't be too dangerous either. Jin Woo-sung is basically a hunter because he needs to make money for his family. His mom's in the hospital. He has a younger sister he needs to take care of, so he needs this job to make money. So they go into this dungeon, they clear it, but they find out that it turns out to be a double dungeon, which is pretty rare. In going into the second dungeon, they find out that that dungeon is at a much higher level than the previous dungeon they were in, and so this is completely unexpected. The monsters in there are much more aggressive, much higher level, and they start losing people right away. Jin Woo-sung is basically in a fatal situation. He is almost going to get killed by one of the monsters when he sees a message saying, "You have fulfilled the requirements of the secret quest. Would you like to become a player?" And he basically is like, "Wait, what?" And then he receives a message saying, "Your heart will stop in like a couple seconds. Decide now." And so he figures, I've got nothing to lose. Yes, I'll become a player. And then the next thing he knows, he wakes up in a hospital. And so his life pretty much changes after that, and he has become a player. He sees like these gaming messages. Nobody else can see them, and he gets rewards for completing missions. He's got daily missions to complete and things like that. He earns rewards for completing those daily missions and levels himself up. And so this story pretty much follows him learning the ins and outs of this game he's become a player in, and kind of trying to use it to his advantage. And I think that's where I want to leave off. I listened to a majority of the light novel from the audiobook version, and I thought the narration was done really well. Like I said, it was narrated by Ki Hong Lee, who might sound familiar to you if you've watched the Maze Runner movies. He played Minho, and so yeah, I really enjoyed listening to his narration of this. Now, granted, some of the narration was a little corny. This is like a video game, and there are battles and things, like I said, with raids of dungeons, and you're dealing with killing monsters and things like that. But there are also like sound effects for like things that are happening, and some of those are like really corny. Like the first time I heard him like act out the rumble, he like was like rumble, and I was just like, what? But when I flipped to the text, that's exactly how it's written in the text. It says rumble. And so, yeah, it was a little corny listening to that, but, you know, I get it. They could have used an actual sound effect, but it kind of gives it a little bit of charm, I guess you could say. But I really, really enjoyed his narration. I also enjoyed the fact that we were getting the correct pronunciation of all of the characters' names, because this is Korean, and so sometimes the pronunciation of what you're reading in your head doesn't sound like it's supposed to sound, so I really enjoyed having that as well. I did read the last portion of the light novel in text because I wanted to get a better feeling about how some of the like gaming aspects from the story were coming across in the text. And I have to say that I think that I will be sticking to the audiobook version, but I will still also be purchasing the light novels, because I feel like the gaming like notifications and the power-ups and all of that was better presented in the audiobook version. It definitely gave off more of that game feel than just like reading them in the text. But that being said, I still really, really enjoyed this story. Let's talk a little bit about the manhwa. This manhwa is full color. It is very heavy. The pages are very thick, and I really, really enjoyed experiencing this as well. I read this after completing the light novel and the audiobook. This installment, as much pages as there are here, and you can see the difference here. This is the light novel, this is the manhwa. This is 1/3 of this story. So everything that happens in this volume is only up to like page 103 of this. So personally, even though I enjoyed reading the manhwa and I enjoyed seeing all of the illustrations, I don't feel like this is the best way to enjoy this story. Mostly because a lot of the story has been condensed so much in the manhwa that you don't get the full effects of how he goes through learning to become a player and figuring out how to work the system, and how he like spends his points that he earns from leveling up. You don't get all of that in the manhwa. And I guess if you're someone who's not really interested in like the gaming aspect of this and is more interested in the like raids and finding him battling higher level demons and his growth that way without the gaming aspects, you'll probably enjoy just sticking with the manhwa. But for me, I think I definitely enjoy having all of that detail in the light novel. There was a lot more intricate stuff that was going on in the explanation of how the game works and how he figures out certain things, and him exchanging his points in, and his like mind, like how his mind was figuring out what to level up, why he was leveling up certain things, and things like that is much better explained in the light novel than it is in the manhwa. Either way, regardless of which way that you decide to enjoy this series, I definitely would recommend this series because I thought it was super entertaining. I was hooked pretty much from the first chapter. There's a lot of action because you're dealing with killing monsters. A lot of times the monster hunters' lives are on the line. You're not only dealing with monsters, but you also deal with unscrupulous people. There are things that happen in the light novel, which is past where this first volume of the manhwa ends, where there are other things happening in the real world. I say that like he got transported into somewhere which is what I thought was going to happen before I even started this series. I thought this was an isekai story, but it really isn't. This is really basically Jinwoo playing this game in his head. Him seeing the gaming notifications, the gaming stats and all of that in his head, but he's still living in the real world. People that he knew before he became a player are still there. He still has bills to pay. He still has to take care of his sister. And so I'm looking forward to exploring his life more and seeing how he decides to level up. To which level does he get to? I'm also interested to see if he meets any other players. I don't think is the only one that has these abilities. And so I'm really, really interested in seeing if maybe he meets somebody else that's in the same situation. But I really, really enjoyed the story. I highly recommend it. Any way that you decide to try the story, I definitely say do it, because I thought it was super interesting and I'm looking forward to continuing. I will be continuing with the light novels and the audiobooks, like I had said before, but I did find the manhwa very interesting as well. So that's pretty much all I have for you today. Let me know down in the comments below if you have read Solo Leveling and what you thought of it. Which version did you read? Did you read through the audiobook? Did you read through the light novel? Or did you read through the manhwa? I would be really interested to see what you think. And if you have only read one of these versions, will you be trying out any of the others? If nothing else, if you could leave me a dragon emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.